Welcome on my lovely Goblin Schools of the Internet. I'm Hanya, your demonic cinephile, and this is our six episode, sixth thing that we're doing for our Saw look back. So Saw 6 takes place sometime between after episode 5 and episode 6. I'm adding like the Star Wars by calling it episodes. I'm not sure why. We're not exactly sure how long the time break is between the sequel, but I can only assume it's been a few months because everybody's kind of acting like Erickson, or not Erickson, Special Agent Strom is the Jigsaw suspect. He is the last and final accomplice that everybody knows about. Hoffman is smug and greedy as ever because he secured his place as the ultimate killer of all time, or something like that. But I do want to mention we're going to mention first the opening of the film. Like all the Saw movies, you have this bloody, gory opening. It's these two guessing insurance agency people who like who take coverage. They like to take people's things, or what exactly were they called again? Let me see. Predatory lenders, yeah. And I love the method of their torture. Not fictional wise. Don't take too much into that. But their game is that they have to knock off the flesh of each other. Knock off the flesh. The person who donates the most skin or bone gets to leave, and the other one gets their skull drew through, drilled through. Yes, drilled through. And I like your we can finally hear the difference between Jigsaw, John as Jigsaw, and Hoffman as Jigsaw. I couldn't notice it in the last movie. Maybe it was fully listening to it. If you watched the last video, you knew I had lots of difficulties watching the last movie. But here, though, you can clearly tell there is a big difference between John and Hoffman's voice when they digitized it. Hoffman is more brutish, like it's a little more deep down in the voice, where John is slightly elevated or something. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is. But also, this was a fun thing for all the younger kids who watched this and have no idea that in 2008, had to be around 2008, there was a reality TV show on VH1 called Scream Queens. And I don't really remember much about the show. I remember watching it. I watched every episode, but I don't remember that much of it. The premise of the show that they got a bunch of girls to go through all these different, you know, games to like, oh, who's the biggest horror movie fan? Who's willing to do this? Who's willing to do that? And the prize was to be in a scene for the upcoming Saw film, which was this one, Saw 6. And we get to see that in the opening film. The main girl who went through the challenge, she was the contestant winner in Scream Queen season 1. I didn't remember how it was fun back then just to see that, oh, hey, she actually did it. She actually put her in the movie. And they gave her one of the best scenes. Also, I just fucking love her crazy eyes when she takes the the meat cleaver, starts knocking off her arm. She got those crazy eyes going. The adrenaline's pumping through her. And I also kind of like the difference between Hoffman and John, because you got to sense John probably never watched over his victims. He kind of suspected that they just were a-okay, except for the exception of Amanda. I mean, here we have a scene where Hoffman actually does visit her, the girl in the hospital. He's actually asking all these questions like, well, did you deserve to be there? Did you learn your lesson? Like, he's not subtle at all. Like, any cop in there should be like, um, the detective, special agent detective is actually kind of weird. Like, he's supposed to ask these questions? Like, no, no. But I think it's also a good show that how Hoffman is high off of this, I guess you could say. Because John. He had a bit of a god complex. He thought everything he was doing was for the greater good. Amanda liked to kill people, but she mostly did for John because John was a father to her. Hoffman, no, no, he's just straight up serial killer. Hoffman is getting off on these killings. He is getting off on the fact that he's able to do all this and nobody's suspecting him. But the big surprise in the opening, though, when we actually get to see that the Special Agent Perez is alive. Because I forgot to mention it in my last video, was because, like I said, I had to stop and rewatch, pause that movie just to get through that one video because of so many different reasons. But yeah, I was so surprised, opening of the last movie where they show that Detective Special Agent, whatever, Agent Perez was dead. But no, they show in here that no, she was alive, and they didn't know they could trust Strom or trust anyone. So they faked her death, which, alright, fine. Well, I'm glad they gave this actress a chance back. And I love how Hoffman, he's like, what the hell? What? She's alive? You didn't tell me? And you almost see him sweating bullets, and I love it. We got a lot more Jill in this I keep trying to say episode. This is what this movie series feels like. It feels like an episode. It feels like a bloody, gory TV show. Just happens to be several hours long. Huh. Wonder what saw fit better as a TV show. But we get a lot of more Jill in this movie, and we get this scene where I'm not sure how much I like it, where it's revealed that Jill was also an accomplice of John. I thought it was kind of better that Jill kind of knew what John was doing, but just didn't stop him. Or maybe she had an idea, but wasn't really sure. Then here it's fun reveal that Jill knew everything that was going on, that she may or may not have helped out, but she knew everything. She just wasn't fully involved. I don't fully get it. I think that was kind of iffy of her. But I can kind of understand that Jill, she's still kind of in love with John, or she just has a lot of respect for him. But I'm not sure that was a good idea for the character, because you kind of felt sympathetic for her in the fourth film. Because when we learned her backstory with John and everything that went on, her losing the baby, her watching him decline into madness, you felt sorry for her. But you felt sorry that all this happened. You felt sorry that she's constantly being picked on and prodded at by the press, by the police, thinking that she's an accomplice. It turns out here she was technically was an accomplice. Because while she may not actively partake in the games, she knew what was going on. Before we get to that scene with Jill interacting with John and Amanda, is this awesome flashback where it was during the preparation for the game of Saw 3. We actually get to see Amanda, John, and Hoffman all in the same room together, and I like it. It's this very weird, toxic work relationship, maybe even a kind of a family relationship, especially with how Amanda sees John. And I love it because when John first is rolled in by Amanda, he has this shotgun. It's holding in his lap. Which I didn't see, and I remember, oh, that's because the shotgun that Timothy stuff. But here it just looks like John's just holding like, yeah, you kids better behave, better get along. But I do like the sort of rivalry. You know what I'm trying to say between Amanda and Hoffman. I really like that. Well, both of them are deceptive with their games. Amanda and Hoffman will rig a game to kill someone. Amanda is more of an emotional outlet. She doesn't. I don't think Amanda enjoys being a killer. Well, Hoffman does. Hoffman gets off on the brutality. John even quotes it in the scene, like, "That's a human being. Do you like brutality, Mark?" Because he actually just throws Timothy off the ground. Which, sorry for Timothy, but he did run over a kid. Let's just be honest. He did run over a kid. I really wish we got to see more of the trio throughout these films. I like their weird dynamic. I want to see a little bit more about it. I want to see how Amanda met Hoffman in the moments leading up to their final ends with each other. I don't know, maybe we'll get a scene in the next one, Saw 10. I hope we get a scene where we get to see all three of them together. The meat for the game this movie is William, the leader or the one of the executive people at this big insurance company, which I think was actually called Umbrella Insurance, which actually kind of fits with Spiral. It kind of looks like a big umbrella in a way. It also kind of feel like a fun little reference to Resident Evil. But unlike most of the victims in all the games, William actually knew John, and we get these couple flashbacks between the game where William remembers these times he met with John. He met John at Jill's clinic, and even back then, John is having his spiel about you don't know about the human spirit, how the drive to survive. You're not putting that into your calculations with a person's life and their money for your insurance policies. And we get in our flashback where John is actually coming to William about his tumor. He's like, hey, there's this new experimental treatment in Norway, and he denies him. And we also get this fun little reference to Dr. Gordon in the first movie, and John's like, Dr. Gordon's just a specialist. He's just there for his paycheck. Half the time he has his hand on the door. Which, yeah, that sounds completely what Dr. Gordon was like in the first movie. He don't give a shit about his patients. But it's kind of funny. Unlike most of the tapes where John's victim has to play out the long game, John doesn't bother with Puppet. He doesn't bother with Billy, which I don't know is because he knew that William would recognize his voice or whatnot. I don't know. But it's kind of fun to see a game player that actually has a connection with John. All the traps in this film are they're not my favorite. I'm not sure about this one. I think they're definitely brutal and much more emotional than certain ones. Probably not as emotional as the games in part 3. He basically has to play with his employees, play with the people who helped him for so many years, make all of these ridiculous life and death choices for people who deserve their insurance, or don't deserve, who deserve and don't deserve the coverage. First one is John Mark. Let's see his name. Let's have it right here. Hank the janitor. So how this game works out is they have to hold their breath, and every time they take a breath, that these two blocks compress their stomachs and like squishing their insides, which it wasn't that brutal and bloody, but it was the intensity of it, like how they focus on the little breathing machines. The second game, probably one of the more interesting ones, where he actually has to hold the lifeline to these two people. And John's little voiceover and pictures diagrams is kind of like his little morality chest, like it's like this is infamous, where it's like, are you going to pick the good ending or are you going to pick the bad ending? And I like how they convince, like, oh, this old woman, she has a family, she has a husband, she has kids, grandkids. Well, this loner, this man over here, he has nothing. You know, if he dies, no one will miss him. And I like that they try to convince you a bit more by showing that he's just sitting like at the park all alone, eating a snack. He's sitting on the sidewalk, just like minding his own business. Like, you couldn't have a picture of him just eating alone at his dinner table, or like showing that his apartment's empty, like he doesn't have a partner or kids. It's like the most dumb generic photos, like, how I'm so lonely, so lonely. But I like the end result of the game where lets the guy die, and the noose around his neck is made of barbed wire, so when the platform falls, it doesn't just like snap his neck. He's like, it cuts into him and he flies off and hits the glass for the wall. It's like, yeah, bloody brutal. We love it. Well, the next game he was supposed to play, it was, oh yeah, with his lawyer, the lawyer from the company. And I really like this one because it's kind of like a maze. Like, it felt like a video game assist, where you're supposed to help the other player or the character move about a maze, and for him to, because it's like in a boiler room, so for him to move the maze so she can get through it safely. He has to pull these levers to get a blast of heat to relieve the heat pressure from down there. It kind of dickish thing though, but because she actually does make it through. But and then call back to other traps where they had a key cut into a person's body. William has the key slit into his stomach, and the lawyer, because she is an awful person, just like most of the people in this film, she immediately grabs a saw and tries to cut him open. Which, yeah, he probably deserved it. He deserved it. All the things he did, probably deserved it. But like that's her excuse. Like, I need to kill him. He could easily just rip open the stitches. The stitches aren't that big. Break them. Slit inside, slide the abdomen. Just pull the key out. Just pull the key out. It's right there. No, she had to be stupid and panic and die. Which I love the effect where it harpoons, this thing harpoons through her skull, like, and her body just flops down into the boiler room. It's so hilarious. But the most interesting kills is the one right here in front of me, behind me, is the merry-go-round, where Willie has to pick and choose between his 6 employees. The 2 will survive, and I like these employees because they're called. You're introduced in the movie as the dog pen, as in those who look up all the people who have their insurance saying, he doesn't deserve coverage. They don't deserve coverage. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Oh, we can make $1 million by getting this person, but we're gonna lose a fortune if we help this person. And just the people who play with other people's lives. And I'm not saying every insurance company is like this, but they make these people the most unlikable a-holes. Like, yeah, the Terminator strikes again. The like, yeah, you don't need to help these people. F them. They're gonna make us lose so much money. So when they actually do get shot by Erickson, it's very satisfying. William's game comes to a very satisfying end after he reaches his family, which you can see this woman and her kid thinking that this is William's family. But when you get to the end of the game, the reporter who've been seen throughout the film, turns out that's his family, that's his sister, and the wife and the woman and her son are the husband and kid of are the wife and kid Williams denied coverage for his surgery for, and he eventually died. Oh boy. This was so satisfying. Because the scene where it is shown, the flashback scene where it is shown that he denies his man his coverage, it's just so brutal. Especially when you hear how William talks about him in the past, like, oh, he lied. He's just begging. He's a liar. And see William's insides get eaten out by hydrofluoric acid was so freaking. I love that. I love the effect of watching him melt. And it was practical too. It didn't look like it was CG. It didn't know CG yet. I loved it. But let's talk about the kind of like the secondary plot, like the B plot. The doors are closing. The doors are closing in on Hoffman. And you see him throwing around his weight against Joe, saying, "Oh yeah, I handle the final games. This is my thing. I don't care what John left you. I don't care how much John wants you involved. This is my game." He just takes away the envelopes that we actually saw. We didn't see the envelopes, but we saw the box in fifth movie, where I thought it actually was revealed to later, I guess the last film, but no, we actually get to see in this film, where Jill opens the box and it has all these different envelopes, 1 through 6. She hands 1 through 5 to Hoffman. Hoffman doesn't see the 6 note. Now, as the film goes on, we see Hoffman getting a little nervous because how Erickson and Perez are acting towards him. It's like, you're like, oh, we got a call from the video analysis of the the person who killed Hoffman's sister, his tape. Oh, we found it, and we're running through it. We're gonna figure out who the voice that really is. Hoffman's like, oh, really? Glad you found it out. Keep me posted. He's like, he's sweating bullets, but he still thinks he's the big dog. Because why wouldn't he? He was the big hero at the end of Saw 4 and 3. He got rid of Special Agent Strong's. He's using his fingerprints to frame everybody. You know, he's perfect. He's golden. He got this in the bag. Until he gets to the special building where it's actually the police were. They're going through the video evidence, which apparently it only has one other officer in there, and she's the tech analyst, and Erickson and Perez. No other officers in there. No cop, no beat cop, no detective, no nothing. It's just these two FBI's and this one lady working the computer. Why? How? I don't know. Makes no sense. But let's move on. So they get into They get into the little basement. We watch her breaking apart the video, and they keep making all these different comments to Hoffman, like, "Oh, it's pretty convenient that your sister was killed by Jigsaw. It's kind of convenient that the tape that played for him wasn't John Kramer. I guess it has to be Special Agent Stroms, but Special Agent Stroms, he wasn't vengeful. He wasn't psychotic. Because Per's like, I know him for 5 years. There's no way he could have done any of the Jigsaw stuff. I see Hoffman just back into a corner. He's just trying to get away from them, like trying to survey the area, like putting. You can kind of see him putting together in head, like, how can I escape this? How can I kill everyone in this room? When the tape finally goes off, where you hear his voice, and not the digitized Jigsaw voice. I love the scene. Like, Hoffman, like, he's so slick about it. He just takes the knife from his pocket and casually just slits Erickson's throat. He uses the video tech girl as a shield while Perez shoots her dead, and then he pulls like a I don't know who the kill I'm trying to think of, a ghost face move, and just jabs Perez again and again with his little pig sticker. He's like, who knows about me? Everyone. Which, if this is true, and everyone knew, like, they told so many different people about Hoffman being the potential Jigsaw suspect because he acts he acts sus in every scene he's in. Why was there not more officers there? At least why were they hiding? Because you could tell from the actor's face, from Erickson and Perez, that they knew. They kept moving their jackets out of the way to show their guns, trying to get their hands on the trigger ready, but they are being so dumb and casual about this. Why wasn't there a SWAT car outside listening in? Why wasn't there this and that? It makes no sense. And even then, it's like, oh, we noticed that Strom, like the fingerprint from Strom, is weird because it's showing signs of decay. There's the chemical in it that only happens when the body starts decaying or something like that. So Hoffman, he's still off his little freaking high, off his murder high, takes he goes into his car, opens up his cooler and takes off the last remains of Strom, which is just his right hand, and starts pressing up against a bunch of random things throughout there before setting the building on fire. He's like, he is going so far extra. This is hilarious. But I do kind of like it. It is shown that Hoffman is kind of like the true villain of the series. That, yeah, John was psychotic, but he kind of thought he was doing something good. Amanda emotionally killed people. She didn't. She either killed people to put them out of their misery, or they're getting too close to hurt John. It's like, oh no, I'll kill. It's kill, stab. It feels good to murder. Like, going through his mind, I love it. But when he sits down to the project little zoo, that the game takes place in an abandoned zoo, which is actually kind of cool because we got these cool little set moments where you see like the broken in cages, the like broken, the abandoned exhibits. It was kind of cool, kind of neat. I wish they did more with the setting. But we find out what Jill's test was, or particularly Hoffman's test. Because during that little flashback with Amanda, she says, you still haven't had your test, detective. And we see Hoffman's test where Jill electrocutes him, knocking him out, ties him to the chair with these belts, and she puts the reverse bear trap on him. A bunch of dumb flashbacks like, oh, what is it? What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in her bag? What's she taking out? And like, they keep going flashback like to all the different times we saw the reverse bear trap. So she puts it on Hoffman's head. Like, was that really necessary? It'd be more interesting and cool if to see her pull her out of the bag. We didn't have to go crazy with the editing. But I like when Hoffman has it on, he realizes what's happening. Like, he starts freaking out. And Hoffman will survive. He will survive the game. If he was just a a horrible detective, he will survive. I like it because he breaks his hand with the end of the reverse bear trap, unlocks himself, pushes his face through the glass of the door to the part of the reverse bear trap that's stuck between the bars, lets it go off so he can slip out of it. And I love the little Montos flashback because we get John giving his spiel like, "Oh, you don't know what's about life. You think your computers, your numbers can allow you to calculate the value of a person's life. You don't know the value of the human spirit." And going on and on, we get all the flashbacks montage. You get to see all the different game overs, and it ends with Hoffman on his knees, half the left side of his cheek has been completely ripped open, lopped off. It's awesome. I love it because Hoffman's just been such a cocky bastard since we met him, and we finally get to see him on his knees, squealing in pain in complete and utter surprise, and I loved it. There also is a post-credit scenes in this film, which I don't know if the other ones had it or not, because I'm just letting the film play up while I got the OBS up and running, and there's an end scene where Amanda is going to the little girl, Jeff's kid, Jeff and Lynn's kid from part 3 and 4, and we see her going up to the girl. She doesn't see Amanda. She's speaking through the keyhole where she's saying, "Don't trust the one who protects you." Which, okay, that was awesome. A complete misread it. I completely forgot about that scene. There's also other thing I forgot to mention is that we actually get to find out the note that was in Saw 3. Okay, so if you don't remember, in Saw 3, well, Amanda was having her many freakouts. She found this letter that was addressed to her. Now, we never got any kind of hint or idea what that letter was. Here, though, we start off with this little flashback. The guy who crushed Jill's stomach, the one that killed her and John's baby. Now, we actually find out on that night that Cecile wasn't just by himself. He was with Amanda. Amanda was with Cecile. They were together, and she kind of edged him on to go into the clinic because they were both junkies. And that's what Hoffman's note said, that I know that you're with Cecile during the night of when Jill and John lost the baby. I know what you did, and I will tell John if you do not kill Dr. Lynn. Okay, a couple things though. How does Hoffman know this? Cecile and Amanda were the only ones there. One of the people there was John and Jill, and they didn't know about Amanda. It's never implied that they know. But how does Hoffman figure this out? I need to know how Hoffman figured this out. Okay, but also that it also explains kind of why Amanda was so adamant about killing Lynn in the third film, even though this kind of ruins it. Thought in the third film that Amanda was just so emotionally unstable that John showing this much care towards another person, care towards this woman, it made Amanda jealous. We thought it was that was making her unstable, the fact that she couldn't handle not being the center of John's world. But here it kind of takes that away. But then again, I'm not sure that's for the good or for the better. I still want to know how the hell Hoffman knew. But Saw 6, this was a fun entry, and they're just a fun movie. I actually kind of like the little moral message about these insurance companies who don't really care about their clients. They're just numbers and how much money they can get from them. Not saying all insurance companies are like that. I'm pretty sure there's a good couple employees who act just like they do in this film. I actually kind of like the little emotional spiel, heavy-handed messaging of the film. I thought it kind of worked for what they're going for. The traps were fun. Not as nasty and brutal like in 3 or 4, but they were still good. And I like kind of like the last movie, I really do like the more detective and police angle more and more. I like Hoffman being so overconfident, but as soon as is challenged, he starts over sweating bullets and panicking, trying to figure out how he can kill everyone quickly. I love it. This is our little rant about Saw 6. Did you hate it? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments down below. What was your favorite trap in this film? Is this your favorite Saw film? I really want you to hear from you. So please hit that like and subscribe button, leave a comment because everything really, really helps. And we will see you for the next film. Bye bye.